Have you ever thought about what became of the women who loved fallen angels more than they feared breaking God's laws? Get ready to uncover how these angels turned against heaven, and how the women who loved them paid the price. You'll find out why their giant children, the Nephilim, were wiped out by a flood so massive it changed the world, and how the archangel Michael stepped in, dealing punishment that no one expected. The biggest shock? What he did to the women afterward, turning their souls into sirens that still haunt our myths today. You know how just one look can change everything? This is the ultimate story of love at first sight, gone horribly wrong. Picture it. In heaven, angels were singing God's praises, keeping the universe running smoothly. Their only job? Serve God. Simple. Until they saw something they weren't supposed to. Human women. These women weren't like anything in heaven. They were real, flawed, and dangerously beautiful. The angels, who should have been above desire, started feeling something new and powerful. Each time they looked down, the pull got stronger, their divine glow dimmed, and forbidden thoughts filled their minds. Meanwhile, on earth, life went on. Women worked, laughed, and loved, unaware that powerful beings were watching them, breaking rules just to stare. But the women sensed something too, like the air before a massive storm, charged and dangerous. The angels knew they were risking everything, torn between duty and desire. What if we could love like humans? They asked. Day by day, more angels gave in, their resolve crumbling. They were about to shatter the balance between heaven and earth, for a chance at human love, and their choice would unleash chaos. When they finally descended, it wasn't a blessing, it was disaster. Imagine the most beautiful beings you've ever seen, times 1,000. These fallen angels didn't walk, they glided. Their voices sang, their glow made everything else look dull. Villages froze when they appeared. Women felt entranced, like they were under a spell. These weren't just attractive strangers, they were perfect, or so it seemed. But behind their dazzling smiles hid dark secrets, and their ancient eyes carried depths no human could fathom. The women couldn't resist. How do you say no to someone who shines with heavenly light and knows your heart before you speak? But here's the dark twist. The women changed too. They glowed faintly, saw life differently. Ordinary men seemed dull next to these angels. The fallen knew what they were doing. They picked the most beautiful women, using their powers to become every dream they'd ever had. It felt like a fairy tale. But this love story was really a horror story. Every time an angel took a human wife, heaven and earth trembled. And their children? That's where things got darker. Let's talk about the Nephilim, children of angels and humans. They weren't normal kids. They grew into giants with the strength to move mountains and appetites that drained entire villages. When they walked, the ground shook. When they roared, it sounded like thunder. They had their father's power, but none of the wisdom, like giant toddlers throwing deadly tantrums. Cities trembled in fear. No one could stand against them. Some were as tall as trees, others bigger, and they were clever, which made them even more dangerous. Up in heaven, God watched his world turn upside down. The Nephilim terrorized his people, and his anger grew. Humans lived in fear, praying for salvation. That's when the archangels, led by Michael and Gabriel, knew they had to act. But even they couldn't handle the Nephilim alone. So God brought out his ultimate plan, a flood that would erase the evil spreading across earth. The battle was epic. Heaven's army against the mighty Nephilim, while the skies cracked with lightning and rain poured. For the first time, the Nephilim felt fear. Everyone, angels, humans, giants, realized some lines should never be crossed. Before I go on, have you subscribed yet? We drop new Bible stories every week that will blow your mind and deepen your knowledge. So hit that subscribe button now. Now back to the storm. Have you ever seen clouds so dark they turn day into night? Multiply that by 1,000,000. That's how it started. The sky turned black, and the air grew thick. At first, people thought it was just rain, but then, heavy drops crashed down like heaven's own tears. It didn't stop, hour after hour, day after day. The mighty Nephilim, once unstoppable, were powerless against the rising water. They tried climbing mountains, but the flood just kept rising. Their strength meant nothing now. Nature itself had turned against them. Cries echoed everywhere, people begging for mercy. The fallen angels watched, helpless, as their children and human wives struggled, but no power could stop God's judgment. In the middle of this chaos, one vessel floated, Noah's Ark. Inside, the only survivors listened to the storm and the desperate cries outside. They couldn't help. This was God's plan. Water swallowed everything, fields, forests, mountains. Even the Nephilim couldn't escape. Their strength failed them, and they drowned. The fallen angels, chained and powerless, could only watch as their world was wiped clean. Their children, their loves, their cities, all gone. For 40 days and nights, the world drowned. When the rain stopped, nothing was left but endless water. Only Noah's Ark floated, the lone survivor on an empty sea. When the waters receded, they revealed a world scrubbed clean, but, scarred forever. But for the wives of the fallen angels, an even crueler fate awaited. They survived the flood, but maybe that wasn't mercy. Imagine loving someone perfect and powerful, only to see them dragged away in chains. That's what happened. Their angelic husbands, once beautiful and mighty, were now bound in darkness, unable to help. These women faced the weight of their choices. Some broke, overwhelmed with guilt, begging for forgiveness. But not all. Take Nama, proud and defiant even after everything. She reveled in her beauty and power, leading others astray. Her pride became her curse. God's punishment was brutal and ironic. These women were transformed into sirens, cursed to be eternally beautiful but deadly, forever luring others to destruction just as they had been lured. The guilt and grief shattered them. Some went mad, others became hollow, and their chained angel husbands could feel every ounce of their wives' pain but could do nothing. That was their torment. The loyal angels, those who stayed true, were given a new mission: guard the world and ensure nothing like this ever happened again. They watched the sirens from afar, once their sisters-in-law, now cursed beings. They watched humanity rebuild, trying to forget the flood. The world got a reset, but the scars remained. Angels learned that some lines can't be crossed, no matter the temptation. But here's something that'll really blow your mind: a showdown between Michael and Lucifer. And the crazy part? They weren't fighting over heaven or humanity, they battled over Moses' body. Yeah, the same Moses who split the Red Sea. This hidden battle, buried in ancient texts, changed everything we know about these powers. Want to know why Lucifer wanted Moses so badly? Click the video on your screen. Trust me, this is a Bible story they never taught you in Sunday school.